Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Out of this world.
Am
Hello,
I-
everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Joan and Alan. You are out of this world with us. Well, actually, maybe in the jungle with Alan, but out of this world with me. And I'm your host, Joan of Angels. I'm here with Alan Steinfeld of New Realities Television. How are you, Alan?
Always out of this world, Joan. I mean, wherever you
Well,
are.
I know, but isn't that the better place to be? Like that world of the ETs, the angels, all those divine beings?
Right, but I'm really excited about today's guest. Of course, his book is one of the #1 bestsellers on Amazon in UFOs. I'm jealous because my book used to be a #1 bestseller, but his is still a bestseller. And he has a new book out, which I'm very interested in, UFO Hotspots. It's something everyone watching this will want to know if you don't know where those hotspots are already. So I'm good, and I'm really excited to talk to Craig. So
Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. Well, I want to let everyone know that we are actually in another place of UFO hotspots down here near Tulum, Mexico. And so if we go in and out, it's because we're in another dimension already. All right. So, guys, we have an amazing guest. And as long as I pronounce his name right, Craig oh my goodness, Campobasso. Joan, we have Craig. You'll see it in a minute. But our author, Craig, is a multiple award-winning filmmaker and Emmy-nominated casting director. And by the way, guys, he wrote that award-winning short film, Stranger at the Pentagon, which was adapted from the UFO booth, authored by the late Dr. Frank Strange. So some of you probably have seen that. Craig has also appeared on many radio shows, including Coast to Coast with George Norrie and Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, has been a guest also on the Open Minds talk show with Regina Meredith on Gaia and Beyond Belief, hosted by George Norrie. So many places you can see him. He's also appeared on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, where Giorgio is the main ancient astronaut theorist. But we are also going to be talking about his latest book, The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, which is the ultimate guide, which is a great book guide, by the way, to Greys, Reptilians, Hybrids, and Nordics. And his other book, the UFO Hotspot Compendium, all the places to visit before you die or you are abducted, and the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. So we're going to be talking about the hotspots today, guys, with our guest, Craig. Craig, how do I pronounce it? I know it's kind of Italian, but how do we pronounce it?
It is. We'll do an Italian tutelage. It's Campobasso. Do it with an Italian flair, and you'll always remember it. Campobasso.
Right. No, I think my friends Tanya and Frank made a film with you at the Stranger at the Pentagon.
We did. They did. And we are working together again right now. We're doing the documentary to the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, which is an extension of the book, and everyone's going to get to see the real live contactees who are having face-to-face contact with ETs. They're going to meet hybrids, learn what hybrids are, learn how this world is, the acceleration of consciousness is happening, and all kinds of amazing things. So this is a documentary that is all things ET. And very cool. So yeah. So I will give them your love. I talk to them at least every other day.
Yes.
So yes.
Woohoo! Okay. So can we bring a few in today?
Sure.
But before we get to the hotspots, I want to know, this book is so thorough, and you have like practically every. How'd you do the research for this amazing book? You have what, 40 or 50 different extraterrestrial races?
Actually, 82.
Wow.
82.
Wow.
And I had a lot more than that, but the publisher wanted me to keep it under 300 pages. And I heard Paul Hellyer give a talk, and he said he knew of 82 races. I said, well, let me honor Mr. Hellier, and I will see if I can fit 82 in. But I'm so glad you asked that question, because a lot of people didn't get that part of it, because in the back there's further reading which shows you where all of the resource material came from. So I went to the original contactee books that date back into the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And I either contacted those contactees, or I contacted the publishers, because if the books were so old, to give a sort of thumbnail review of retelling the story of what that contactee who had face to face learned about their technologies, who they were, why they were here, uh, all of that good stuff. And so that's where all of the source material came from.
Great. Joan, you're muted.
Right.
There you go. You're
Okay,
good.
hi. I think we have a little sound coming from your screen, Ellen. So, Craig, well, I have several questions. How many ET species have you met? But then in your life, and how did you get started? You have an awesome story. When we were talking, that you found out your dad, it was part of Project Bluebeam. Like, how did you get started in the field? Blue Book.
Well, I when I was 26, I had a major spiritual awakening, and that just sort of led me, of course, to the Bodhi tree, which we all miss a lot. And I think I gobbled up every spiritual book, and then I started looking at the UFOs and learning about contactees. I started going and listening to these people. I started going to conferences. I met lots of UFO researchers. I started tagging along on some of their things, and I just continued to do it for my whole life, because I was just so fascinated. I will tell you, before my spiritual awakening, I was the guy that went to work, went out with my friends after work, came home, went to sleep, got up and did it all over again. Never thought about what was out there in the universe, never thought about any of this. So I went from 0 to 100 in a 2-year really intense waking up period, which is a whole nother show. Yes, Alan?
Tell us a little bit about, because I'm fascinated with people who have spiritual awakenings coming from the 9-to-5 world. What was the component of that spiritual awakening? What happened?
Well, what happened is in my dream state, every night for 3 months, I saw 3 beings standing, and I would just look at them and I would feel this immense love. And I would wake up and go, oh, what a nice dream, right? I don't know who they are. 2, one was a female human. The other 2 were very tall with elongated heads and, very high vibratory, by the way. And this went on for like 3 months. And then the next 3 months, I would have that same experience. And then all of a sudden, I would wake up in the dream and realize that my astral body was where they were. And I started having a different experience, right?
And what was that? What was that experience?
Well, that experience was just feeling this immense love from them. There wasn't any kind of vocal communication. It was all just this vibratory stuff. And then the next 3 months was I would have both those experiences. I would wake up and then their astral bodies would be at the foot of my bed. And then I realized that something was happening, but I was never afraid, because all I felt was this immense love. So the next step was to begin the awakening process. So I then was back in their realm, where they fed this golden white light from their hands, and it ballooned into my body. and I felt it permeate all my cells. And that is what really began the awakening. So I'm going to tell you, this was the most beautiful part of my awakening, is for the next 8 months. And mind you, at the time I had my casting office on Sunset Boulevard with a gorgeous view. It's now, every time I looked at something, like a person, a ladybug, any kind of living life, to a plant, I saw the beauty behind the creation of it. And then when I would see people, no matter who they were or what they looked like, I could feel their soul history, and I could bond with them, and I would weep. And so I sobbed every day from 8 to 12 times. And I'm not talking about crying, I'm talking about full on sobbing, but happy sobs, right? And so even if an actor came into my office and I connected into them, I would have to excuse myself, go in the other room, sob it out, and then come back in. I really thought it was never going to stop. You know, I started to get worried, but it did. But I still cry over the beauty of humans and, you know, all of those things, because you really are connecting into source, into everyone when, you know, once this happened. The next step is they woke up my light body, and so, or my astral body. So I began astral traveling to other worlds and learning about other worlds and all kinds of stuff. That's a whole nother show. But I went through many processes like that over this 2-year period. And at that time, I wrote a book about it, just detailing everything that happened, right? And then I decided to treat myself and go to Mount Shasta. And while I was there, I had an amazing experience with the Great I Am. And actually, what I had found, what I had already found out from writing the book, was that 2 of the beings that were my teachers were from the actual Great I Am. They were from the original planet in the first super universe, which they call Marama, right? So it was amazing. Then I had this great experience there, and when I came home, the main guide said, "What would you say if I told you you wrote that book for yourself?" And I said, "Then I've learned a lot about myself." And I really did. I mean, I was like, it was so cathartic to do that. And he said, "Now I want you to sit down and I want you to write until you can write no more. I don't want you to edit. I don't want you to stop." And he said, now we're going to actually write the books that you came here to write." And that is where the Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga book series emerged from.
Oh,
So,
beautiful story. I didn't
yeah.
know you were so deeply spiritually connected.
Yes.
That is great. Now
Yeah.
I believe this stuff even more, because it's coming from our true source.
Yes. And also, you know, when I write books, I usually have a Melchizedek master with me, who is the overseer. And I do have some of the highly advanced, I'll have like at least one ET person that I've already previously worked with. And there's a couple of them, and they switch off each time I do a book. And then I have a master with me. So as it's going on, they just show it to me. You know, I don't even know what I'm going to write. I have no idea. And I just sit down and it goes, it just flows. It just comes out. They show me the images. They'll give me the outline, all of that. So It's been an amazing, beautiful, beautiful experience writing all these books. I have 7 published books now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed, Craig.
Thank
Extremely.
you, Joan. Thank
So,
you.
I know that everyone here listening is going, how come I don't have these experiences? How am I going to have these experiences? And so I was thinking to myself, why you? Like, why was it you that was able to do this? And
Why not? Why not him? No, go ahead, Craig.
that's
Yeah.
right. And of course, and why not everyone in the audience here today? But
Well,
something special is.
I look at it this way. I know that I came here to do this. My mother, when she was pregnant with me, she said, she always told me, I know you came here to be a writer. And she said that was what you were supposed to do. Even when I was younger, even though she said that and I wanted to go and act and be in the film business, she just supported all of that, right? So did my father. But she always said, you came here to be a writer. So they supported me a lot in the writing, when I was, started writing when I was 26. And it took me quite some time to kind of get my groove in it, and find my voice. And it's the experience of writing, just to tell you guys, which is really beautiful. So when you're having a telepathic communication with another being, most people think of it as you're just speaking mind to mind. When the higher realms, they're also sharing their feeling body with you. So as you're telling the experience, you're feeling every emotion that person felt. So it's such a beautiful experience in sharing up there, because the other person also becomes a little elevated from your experience because they just experienced it as well, right? So when I write, what they do is they sort of share their soul with me, and they kind of sit in, and I write from their perspective and their voice, whoever it is. And then, it's not like somebody's coming in and taking over my body. It has nothing to do with that. It really is just about sharing. It's this, like, they'll let me feel their feeling body. Now when you get a created being, or, a high angel, seraphim, or something coming in, your body will ring with chills for a very long time, and you will sob for a very long time because their energy is so beautiful. The same with Valiant Thor, right? It's the same with him. So
Wait, who is Valiant Thor for people who don't know him?
Well, Valiant Thor is a created being, which means he doesn't have a belly button. He's an immortal. He's a universal emissary. He's in charge of this quadrant over here, but mainly focused on Earth. It was foretold to our government many years before his arrival that he was going to be arriving to brief the president on all things universal, including the dangers of atomics, not only for Earth, but for interdimensional worlds, for other worlds out in the universe, because it knocks everything a little bit off its axis. And but he also came with what we call a divine design, that was to eliminate poverty, sickness, disease, to prolong life and give mankind a better way of living, right? Now, Eisenhower and Vice President Nixon were really for him. They really championed Valiant Thor. It was the military-industrial complex and the other powers that be that basically wanted his organic technology, right? They didn't have organic technology back then. So it sort of was a little battle over these. He stayed for 3 years. He was invited. That was the allotted time. And during this time, he would assist and share all of this wealth of knowledge about the universe and how things are set up. And if you really go and you watch Eisenhower's exit speech, where he talks about the military-industrial complex and all of that, you will really feel what he was feeling, because they were very upset that they turned down this proposal. We would be living in a whole better way of life right now, right? Everything would be free energy. Everything would be all of that. We wouldn't have a monetary system. We wouldn't have all of those kinds of things there. So anyway, so he left after 3 years. He came back a year later. He's been here ever since. He's overseeing our ascension transition as well. In the beginning, he helped NASA with their space exploration, especially regulating the space suits and space medicine and things of that nature. It's also said that he still assists NASA today. And I look at it this way, a lot of people go, oh my God, this ET being is manipulating the earth by blah, blah, blah. Well, this is somebody who's a created being. This is an angelic. What better person to be put somewhere to make sure everything is going right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Craig, why do you feel, well, first off, who are you most in contact with? Do you have a whole vast array of ETs? Do you actually see them? So which ones are you in contact with?
Well, I'll Pleiadians. And this is just in what I call the mind internet, right? Because once you connect to source, you can connect to these beings through meditation. And what happens is in the back of your neck, you get a click and it goes like it just clicks. And then all of a sudden they're there looking at you like I'm looking at you now. It's a full-blown picture, right? Sometimes they're just smiling and sending you love. Sometimes they give you a message, sometimes different things. So I would say if people read the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga, you would see there's a plethora of beings throughout the universe. It sets up the universal hierarchy. It tells you what Melchizedek is. It shows you how the Starseed program comes out of Melchizedek into worlds like Earth to raise consciousness. It goes through all of these different details. So now I've never met one face to face. I probably have and didn't know it, but I have been in a few places where I said, that person's not from here. I guarantee it. And they turned around, looked at me and smiled. And I went, okay, they aren't. So
and they heard you tell it.
They did. Absolutely. So.
Well, I think this latest book is actually the most, let's say, practical of them all. I've been traveling around looking for UFO hotspots, but I'm curious, you were probably guided to do this because we're getting more sightings and visitations than ever. Can you talk about some of your favorite hotspots?
Yeah, I will tell you how it came about. The publisher called me and they said, we want you to do a follow-up and we have an idea. We want to call it the UFO bucket list. And I said, well, I don't like bucket list, but we'll go with that title for now. And I said, well, how do you want to go about it? And they said, well, we're going to have the head of MUFON send out a letter to all the state directors, and they're going to send in all their favorite hotspots. So I accumulated all of those. I had a few of my own that I wanted to put in there that I had been visiting that not a lot of people know of that are really cool. And so I went in and I started compiling those, and I thought, what I would really like to do is like like Giant Rock and the Integratron, of course, were my favorite place to go, and I'll tell you why. But I was able to obtain through the Integratron archives photos that really haven't been out there. I actually had a artist rendering done of Salganda, the being that met with George Van Tassel, because there was never one done. And then you get the whole story from the beginning to end. And then at the end of each chapter, you will, if plausible, you will get whatever the Project Blue Book or MUFON's findings were, or what that MUFON investigator believed, right? And some of them in some of these are very strongly suggestive that, yes, there were things going on there. Even though, there's photographs, there's things of these ships and things like that, and all the experiences. Like in one case that I went back and I went through, I mean, I couldn't believe it. The Gulf Breeze one, for instance, that there were so many witnesses to not only the extraterrestrials, but to the ships and to those blue beams they were firing down on everyone. So, but
no, I was just going to say, I produced a movie on George Van Tassel called Calling All Earthlings. Did you see that?
Oh my God!
I didn't
wait
see
a minute.
it.
Wait a minute. I think I'm in it. I think I filmed a little piece.
Herman directed it. I just produced it, but you
Yeah.
might be in it. You might be in it.
You
But
might be in it.
so
Yeah.
is it becoming more like there are more hotspots lately than ever before? That's my take. But what do you think is going on?
Well, there's so many hotspots, and I would say to people that let me just find my little note there that I had. So I look at a hotspot as that it's one that is most visited, or it is a place in UFO history, right? So, and sometimes, these craft may come back, or these beings might come back many years later, just maybe to see how things are going. We're not really quite sure, but I would say that the biggest UFO hotspots, I would say, are ESETI Ranch, Sedona for sure. And Sedona for many reasons, because of the vortex areas, but also because of the underground military ET bases that are going on there that everybody knows about. It's like common knowledge. We see the black helicopters flying around. People see stuff. In the book, I actually put a picture. I was traveling towards Bell Rock to go do a meditation, and I saw a big oval sphere, silver sphere, flying along the side of the road coming towards me, which, to me is a probe. And I grabbed my phone and I got a picture of it and I put it in the book. And then also on Bell Rock, I captured gigantic orbs like that had milky white patterns going through it there. And I showed it to Sylvia Brown, the psychic, and she said, "Oh, honey, those are angels. Those are angels." And I showed it to many other psychics over the years just to see what they would say, and they all said the same thing, right? And the intricate patterns that were going on inside. Now, one of them was bumped up against my body, right? And it formed perfectly to my body as well. And then another time when I went to go do some work in New Orleans, of course I had to go to Bourbon Street because I'd never been there, right? And one of the pictures that somebody took of me, there was a giant orb above my head, and I was like, oh, that was there for protection, because I'm not kidding you. I felt all those little dark ghosts in that place there. It's there's a lot of darkness going on there, but there's also a lot of light in different places. So just because of its old history, that kind of thing. So those were very interesting. Some of the scarier places I love are the Bradshaw Ranch, which is out in the Verde Valley outside of Sedona.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that before, Alan? It looks like you have.
The Bradshaw Ranch, but it's sort of like Skinwalker, but I never went in. What was scary about it?
Well, so I've been hearing about it through a friend of mine who is a part of Dr. Frank's group because she lives in Sedona. And when the ranch was a working ranch and Bob had horse shows, rodeo shows, cookouts, and all of that on the ranch, she worked there. So she knew all the stories firsthand. So she was telling me about the big girl who was the albino Sasquatch that came and visited every night, and that Linda Bradshaw, Bob's wife, fed her, put plates of vegetables and fruits out for her, and she protected her mare who was pregnant because the local UFO researcher, Tom Dongo, called her and told her that other ranches, the mare's fetuses were being taken by aliens, right? And so he was very concerned for her mare, but she would find these white hairs on the mare's stomach, right? Bob himself saw a spaceship land. He bought 140,000 acres, by the way. It's a big plot of land. It's very scary to get to. You wouldn't want to do it at night. And he saw one land. He wanted nothing to do with it. Linda, when she started experiencing stuff, she contacted Tom Dongo. They became friends, and they investigated for 4 years, right? So there were grays landed and were running around the property at night, where they all saw them running around. They were terrified, except for Linda. She was fearless. One walked by the window in the middle of the night, and she ran after it, and it disappeared. There was just so much going on. It's so interdimensional there. I'm, as you guys can feel already, I'm a really sensitive to energies and other dimensions and things. And when I went there the first time, I've gone to Bradshaw Ranch twice. The first time I could feel all the dimensions opening up, and I could feel all kinds of things looking at me. You know when you have that feeling, and it wasn't one, it was a bunch. And I really just wanted to turn around and go, right? But I didn't, because my friend, who at the time was in her late 60s, and she's like, "Oh, come on," and I'm like, yeah, I just want to go back, and I was like, okay, I got to suck it up. And, she's brave, I'll be brave, right? So we went and we walked around the property, and she showed me, where everything is. There's so many other things that happen there, but they caught a lot of stuff interdimensionally on cameras, right? Into other eras of life on Earth, right?
Joan, we're going to go there next time we're in Sedona, okay?
Yes.
I'm really excited. We're doing an event in Sedona soon in March, so that'll be very exciting.
I saw that, and I'm going to try and go because I'm friends with Tom and George, and they want me to come down. So I'm going to really try and come, so I'll get to see you guys in person.
I'm putting my link. Okay, it's going to be a very exciting event. While we're talking about events, because we're kind of midway through the show, let's talk about the event that you have. That's going to be tomorrow, actually. That's live. I want to know what you're going to be talking about tomorrow. So Tina will put it up for us.
And where
and
when it's going to be. So tell us all that.
It's actually going to be on online. And people just sign up. I think it's 29 something or $29. I'm going to be talking a lot about the different UFO hotspots, but but also about portals, vortexes, interdimensional portals. Do these hotspots actually activate your DNA? Do they wake you up in some sort of way? And like, how many locations have I visited? But I'm also going to bring on one of the biggest new hotspots that's happening right now. We have lots of pictures and lots of footage of craft that are flying around. And this is in the Los Angeles area. So I'll tell everybody exactly where they can go if they want to go see it. And so it's going to be a lot of stuff that I normally don't talk about when I do radio interviews. Right. So yeah, that's it.
Here it is.
And
I
then,
thought it was online.
it is online. Yeah, it is online. And then there's a link somewhere. By now. There it is.
Of course,
yeah, it was
by
at the
now.
bottom. By now. So I guess maybe
Hotspot in Los Angeles, or is that an old one you just discovered?
no, it's a brand. It's one that's about 3 years old.
Wow.
Yes, and
In
like
LA.
yeah, and the ETs don't care who see them. It's all in daylight.
That's in Los Angeles. Can you share with us where? Because I
No,
I gotta see the
I
Compendium.
can't because I'm doing it tomorrow in the
Share it
thing.
tomorrow.
I love it. I love it. That's really exciting. You know, you talked about my favorite place, Joshua Tree,
Yes.
and the energies up there are so profound. It seems to me that the places you're talking about that are hot spots have some kind of vortex of energy.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're near the military bases. They actually have something that's profound with or without these ETs.
Right. It's true. Sedona is embedded with quartz crystal all over the place. Even when you walk on Bell Rock, you see little deposits in the actual rock, right? And so this is what this creates the impulses within the rock that create the vortex, right? So Giant Rock also has that, and next to Giant Rock is Crystal Mound, which is the mound made of all crystal rock. Now, where yes,
that's at
yes.
Joshua. That's right next to Giant Rock.
It's a giant rock. Yeah, you have to climb it and pick up a few.
Okay, the one on the left there. So guys, if you've not been to Joshua Tree, by the way, and Giant Rock, it's one of the most profound spots in the world because it's in the middle of the desert and it's filled with these rocks. Now, to me, Craig, I think those rocks were giants at one time, or little ET beings that came down in these rocks. I read something about those rocks at Giant Rock that said that the Indian native stories was that they came down so gently as if God was holding them and placing them down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big old Indian reservation. They said that the local Indians said that Giant Rock was a most sacred place. George Van Tassel interacted with the Indian nation way back when he was there. He wanted to just go out there after Frank Kreitzer passed away, who was running the airport, and he knew Frank. That's a whole nother long story, but George just wanted to have peace of mind and go and meditate and find his true self in the desert, which he did. So he began channeling in 52 under the rock where his home was, where Frank Kreitzer had dynamited and built a home under there. And Bob Short was at those things, and my friend Denise Ebersol, who was there in the very beginning, and she's still alive today, and I use her as a resource. She is still as sharp as a tack. She's an amazing woman, and she was there the very first time he went into another voice and started channeling Ashtar, as a matter of fact.
I would love to meet her. She sounds great. But do you have a theory? You talked about the Crystal Mound. Where and why all these hotspots are hotspots? Is there, or yeah, talk about that, because that's really interesting.
Well, like I said, the crystals create these giant vortexes. ETs are attracted to vortexes. I think they may use it to recharge something in their ships, or maybe themselves. I'm not really quite sure. Many a times people have seen ships, especially over Bell Rock or over other vortex areas. But I also think that it is also the intention of the spiritual pilgrims that go there and meditate and put that in, that all that energy just builds over time. It's the same if dark beings start to create energy vortexes, and they can build them the same way, right? I mean, I remember Dr. Frank telling me that Valiant Thor took him out to the desert, and he said that that these dark entities were creating a portal there, and that he went there to shut it down. And he showed Dr. Frank that Dr. Frank was there when he shut it down. Right. So I always found that very interesting.
You know,
Now,
okay, I read something. We got to take turns, Alan. Okay, I read something about Tassel too, and the I think it was the Integratron, that it was built. Well, why was the Integratron built? Let's talk about that. That beautiful sound. It's now being used for sound healings. But I understand from what I read that it was actually going to be an ET, like the ETs could come down through that. That was part, that it was somehow a way that a transfer was going to happen. The ETs could come down here, and very brave humans could go up there. Is there anything to that story?
Well, I've never heard anything about that story. This is what George Van Tassel has said. So when he began channeling the beings in 52, he met this being Salganda in 53. I believe it was in August. All the dates are in the book, by the way. And George slept outside on a cot because it was always hot in the desert. And he said it wasn't unusual that people would approach at night. He said his dogs weren't barking, so he found that interesting. His wife and daughters were still asleep, and this man was walking towards him. He went and spoke to the man, and then he realized he was dressed differently. And then he looked over his shoulder and saw his ship, and the man introduced himself as Salganda, and he said, would you like to take a tour of my ship? And George, being an aviator, working for Howard Hughes and McDonnell Douglas and stuff, he went on and he met more of the male crew. He saw how everything worked, and then Salganda gave him, it's interesting because this is happening in 53, Valiant Thor is in 57, and they're basically giving the same information. So he was given the blueprints to build the Integratron, which was named by Salganda, and that it was a rejuvenation chamber that they could get 10,000 people through it a day. So if you walked in one door and walked across and walked out the other door, your cells would be rejuvenated and you would stay young and youthful, healthy and vitalicized just like they are, right? Salganda at that time was over 700 years old. Now, George also called it a time machine, that as well, and that kind of thing. So he was about 5% from getting it working. And Salganda told him not to turn it on, that he now realized that Earth people weren't ready for it, right? George had a heart attack, not long after that. Denise, his wife at the time was Doris, his second wife. She called her and Denise and her husband, and they all went to the hospital. And they said that they went to see the body, and that Denise said that Van came to her and just said, wow, this place is great. Like he was like super happy where he was. And so she felt very at peace with that. So
but like, all his papers disappeared.
Right.
They did. And
didn't they destroy the cave that he was living in under the rock?
Well, he sold the airport to somebody else, and they ran it for a little while. And then when it was defunct, probably so kids and things wouldn't start hanging out in there, they filled it in. So it's been all filled in, right? So you can't even go under there and see it. And
papers, who took all his
nobody seems to know where any of that stuff sort of vanished. Emil Canning, Doris sold it to Emil Canning. He just kind of used it for meetings, I hear. And then when the Carl sisters bought it, they went in and they really refurbished it. They cleaned up the grounds. It's a beautiful property now. It's only like 3 minutes away from Giant Rock. So if people are going to plan a trip out there, in the book, if you want, the best thing to do would to make your reservation to go to the Integratron on their website. Information's in the book, and do your sound bath. That's the only way that you can get on the property. And they give you a little history. They have a beautiful gift shop. You can walk the grounds. And then afterwards, I also put in here, the Giant Rock historian does tours of Giant Rock. And so she'll take you out. I would prefer that people go out there at night and bring chairs so you can sit out and you can sky watch. Right? It's beautiful to sky watch out at Giant Rock. I've done it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just really beautiful. And the Integratron, after you have a sound bath, your body and your cells do feel rejuvenated. You feel like you're levitating, When I go, the sisters I'm very friendly with. I really love them. And they, I'll go in and do one, and they'll say, "You want to go again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go again."
You know what I found, Craig? I was there at a very special time of the day when the sun was hitting it. And, they have this tube in the center. And I stood in the center at the same moment. This light came right down from above.
Right.
And my wings just popped. I can only explain it that way. Yeah. I felt so activated by that profound energy there. It was really powerful.
It is, and he was told to build it there because there was a large cache of quartz crystal beneath it. And when you stand there and you talk, your voice goes really loud because it's an echo chamber that goes all the way down. But it's also under the dome as a sound chamber. And so if you whispered on one side, your voice would be very loud on the other side. So I was there once with Gregorian chanters, and they sang for us. And it was the most beautiful thing, hearing all these voices being thrown all over the place. It was like this beautiful harmonic symmetry orchestra of voices.
Well, of course, one of the major things about it is that there's no metal. There are no nails. It's all wood. And he had to bend the wood to create the dome. It's a really fascinating construction. So
it's all done with pegs and everything. Yeah, because the metal, Salganda says, gets in the way of telepathic communication.
Yes, and it does. It absolutely does. And that they're talking a lot about it now with what's going on and this process of metal entrapping people, and it's a lot. I believe that. So I had a great experience at Joshua Tree last time I was there. because it's not just giant rock, it's that whole area as you were explaining it. And I had friends asking me if I can call in ships, and they just showed up. So
Yeah.
we had a question back here on, do you do any special meditations or prayers?
Wait, oh, I was going to ask one question before we went to the audience questions. It's just that if you talk about some of the other hotspots, the ones I'm interested in are the ones where the lights appear, like Hostalin, the Marfa lights. Do you know? Have you tracked those?
Yes.
Lights?
So we have we have the Marfa lights. We have those same lights on Mount Adams at East Seti Ranch. Same lights. I experienced them, and they come in different ways, shapes, and forms. Giant. Sometimes they're really bright and they go down. And I would asked the people there on the ranch. I was like, well, could it just be hikers? And they're like, no. They said that is such a treacherous mountain to climb where all those lights are shown. But nobody really knows. But they do say that there is a benevolent ET base underneath the mountain, because they see craft going in and out all the time, especially Pleiadian. Right.
Well, do you know
so,
Hostalin lights in Norway? Do you know about that site?
No.
Same lights come out of the side of these Norwegian valley, and same sort of bright. They appear and disappear. I'll send you my interview with the guy who's been researching that for 30 years.
Oh, I would love that. And the same lights are on the plateau at the Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh,
yes, also there.
I was in Kingman, Arizona for a year, and we saw.
Oh, I think she froze. Oh, I can't hear anybody now.
So, have you heard of the UFO highway, Craig?
No, but you froze, so I didn't hear anything you said before. Do you know about the UFO highway?
Oh, okay. So I was talking about Kingman, Arizona, and twice a week regularly there were all these orbs and ships that would show up. In fact, the house had all sorts of beings in it, but I was told that there's a UFO highway that kind of goes across from California, the desert, to New Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico. Have you ever heard that?
I have never heard that, but I would definitely say that is definitely plausible, because a lot of times they'll just take the same route when going somewhere, that kind of thing. And, and right now I think they're showing themselves a whole lot more because everything is being captured on film, and, it goes right up on the internet. So people see it. Even the ships that are cloaked, you can decloak them by holding up a piece of glass. Did you know that?
No, tell us.
Yeah. So it, like in an 8x10 frame, there's glass. You take the glass out, you just go up and you could just scan the sky. And if there is an actual cloaked ship, you will see the ship through the glass.
Okay, tonight.
That technology.
I don't know why. It's the same thing like with your phone, right? Like when I went to some very highly big vortexes or paranormal places, where they did that place where they did The Shining. I can't remember the name of that hotel, but down in the basement, like you would feel it. But if I held my phone up like this, you would see thousands of orbs coming at you. Like it was unbelievable. Now in Bradshaw Ranch, when they had video VHS cameras back then and other cameras, it was a looking lens into what was behind the veil, right? Like they saw things that went back to prehistoric times. They saw things that were more, one time they saw telephone poles, and there are no telephone poles, right? So it seems like it's almost like a shuffle deck of time frames that are behind this sort of veil. I was speaking to one psychic who is a MUFON director, and when I was explaining to her about the ranch, because it had positive and negative ET energies, and there is a alligator tree between the homestead house and the ranch, and that she believed it all stemmed from this alligator tree, and it's named that because its bark looked like alligator hide, right? And that she said she saw the dark and the light vortexes twisting, in opposite directions, and that kind of thing. And Linda said anytime the darker energies came out of there, everything bad on the ranch happened. Right? So, and then when the good ones came out, that things were really good and really positive. But she really felt that the good entities, energies were really protecting them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's
So,
intense.
do you need, we had a question about, and I'm really curious, do you do any special processes? Like, say you get off now and you want to talk to your ET family, do you need to do anything to connect with them? Or is it just more or less
I just
the back here? Go.
I actually have a room that ever since I started writing in my place before the one I'm living in now, the entire place became a vortex. It was a giant vortex. And so when people would come to my house, they would never want to leave because they were in nirvana. And so when I moved into this place, I said, just put it upstairs in my meditation room. So it still bleeds out into downstairs, which is fine. But upstairs, I'll just go up. I just do, I just do my little meditation. And then I want to talk to somebody, I'll call them in, or and just see what answers I get and that kind of thing. I always do little prayers, beforehand, and depends on, what anybody wants to say, any kind of prayer.
Well, Craig, let's look at the big picture, because you're writing these books for a reason. You're getting these downloads. You're making these connections for the general population. What do you think's coming down like very soon for our connection to the cosmos? Yeah.
Well, I really believe that all of this stuff, I'm doing my part. You guys are doing your part. There's so many other wonderful people doing their part. And when this big disclosure happens, whether it's from our government, which most people believe it's only going to come through the people, because it's we have to really claim our planet back, right? And all of us connecting into becoming bright lights and working on ourselves spiritually to overcome our egos, so that our heart works with our mind and we really just go into service to humanity and relinquish service to self, right? That's how it spreads, and it becomes all of that. And then eventually all of these things start breaking down, and that's what's happening now. And it's like it's nobody really knows how, why, what shape it's going to happen. I look at our government and I'm like, they're in a pickle, right? Like, the current administrations didn't do all the stuff that the administrations way before did to cover it up, to make people who talked about this stuff look like they were crazy. There's not Philip classes anymore that are hired by the government to go and debunk everybody. And, I see some of those things where he's like, it was swamp gas, and you're like, I don't think like a normal person who knew anything about it would believe him, but that was their way of doing it. But I really think now they're really just trying to find ways of doing it. You know, we kind of saw it happen with To the Stars, all those people that came out of all those positions because they couldn't be in government positions to talk about it. And now those are sort of like on their own separate paths now. But, you know, they release the TikTok, they'll release a little something else and that kind of thing. Whether they'll ever say it or not, we don't know. But I think I think I think people now are really smart and they really see it, and it's all over TV. It's everywhere. You can't deny this phone anymore. Everyone has one. Everyone can film it. Everyone, you know, I like my favorite show is Paranormal Caught on Camera. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe half the stuff that gets caught on camera, like crazy paranormal stuff, UFO stuff, ETs, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it's really fascinating.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
it
living in
is.
exciting times. We're right at the edge of a
Yes.
new world. That's what it feels like.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, Joan, you're muted.
You're muted. We don't want to miss a word. Wait, you just muted again, but
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are. You're good.
I think Tina and I are fighting in the back. I turn it on. Okay. It could happen. But I think that it's really, we are living in interesting times, you know,
Yeah.
and the fact that they've come out of the caves and they're here very present, that humanity's waking up. I love that the newscasters don't go, oh, you know, they saw a saucer, wink, wink, you know,
Right.
that really debunking, making fun of people for what their own eyes are showing. So it is a time of great awakening. Do you think that,
Yes.
I think my last question is, do you feel that they have messages for us? You know, why are they looking out for us so much? Like
they
what?
are usually so out of Melchizedek, the lead character in here's the book. This is book one, Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga. I am Tehran. Tehran's a Pleiadian. Tehran is in charge of teaching the starseeds that are coming to Earth and what their missions will be, what they have to accomplish, how much consciousness they have to raise, all different things like that. So usually what I have found in all of the different people that I've met is that if somebody is a Pleiadian, it's the Pleiadians who will look after them, even though it comes under the banner of what they call the Galactarian alignment of space, peoples, and planets, because it's an alignment of consciousness from people and planets, right? So it's how he brings forth the information to these starseeds that are going to incarnate. Now, there's two kinds. There's the kinds that are just going to raise consciousness individually, and then there's those who are going to raise consciousness on a mass level, right? Mm-hmm. And so the ones that are on a mass level had to have come in and become every single race, every kind of sexuality, every kind of everything on Earth. They've had to have lived all of that so that when they come back to teach the masses, they have walked in every shoe, right? And they understand all of the dualistic things that went on with each of those races are a part of their actual cellular makeup. So I think that is one of the coolest things, and that this is really how a lot of the consciousness is raised, right? So
what's coming up for you then, Craig? I mean, besides the workshop, I mean, what's in your vision, your next books, your bigger vision of reality here?
Well, I'm really focusing on the ET Almanac documentary right now, and I'm writing 2 more books in the Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga. And there'll be 7 in total. There's 4 out now. And I still cast movies. I'm still directing and writing and producing projects and all that kind of thing. I like to just sort of do a little bit of everything. It keeps me sane, right?
Yes. Are you going to be at the Conscious Life Expo in LA?
I hadn't planned on it, but I might go down and visit it because you guys are going to be there, and I like to go down and say hi to everybody.
Definitely.
Come down. Yes, we would love to have you down there, Craig. There's so much happening there. There's the UFO panel. Come down and talk to us. Maybe we'll be able to get you in for next year because you certainly deserve it.
We'll do an in-person interview too. Maybe we'll go to the LA Hotspot with you too. Film that. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh
my God. Yes, I'm going to be in LA after January 20th, 21st. Alan comes in for the expo, and boy, that would be fun to film something like that.
On location hotspot interview with the hotspot guy.
With the hotspot
that
expert.
Would be cool. That would be cool.
Oh my God. Okay, then we will definitely set something up with you, Craig.
Yes, so, I would love that.
This was great.
I think you're really doing a great public service, putting out these books, preparing
Thank
people.
you.
We're waking up to the bigger reality, and we need these encyclopedias, these almanacs, these manuals for meeting the next level of reality.
Yes.
Yeah. And you even had angels. You even have angels.
Oh yeah,
I loved that, and I thought that's great because there was a close alignment there.
Greg, yes. What were you going to say, Greg? And
no, I just said that I've worked with angels since I was a boy, and so they have been around me for a long, long time. So I am. If I identified with anything in the books, it would be angels over ETs, but they're all the same to me. So,
It's Joan of Angels. Did you know that was her name, Joan of Angels?
I know.
She does. Given the name. I was given the name because of the art. The angels came to me to start painting them. They said that they want humanity to see them. They want, even the ETs, they want humanity to not be afraid to be able to feel their energy and receive healing, just even from artwork. So that's how I got named.
That's right. And I'm feeling somebody in your audience just needs to hear this one little thing is, we all have an archangel, right, that looks after us, but we all have a ministering angel. That ministering angel can change over time. Now, for over 10 years went to bed every single night saying, I want my ministering angel to come to me in a dream, and never did. And then finally, after 10 years, he came and knocked on my door, and I opened the door in the dream, and he was standing there. He was this beautiful black man, and his name was Jeremy. So I immediately ran out and bought a black angel and is set next to my bedside ever since. And it was just so thrilling because I think of him and I look in his gorgeous eyes of light, and I still get that incredible feeling. So I just want people to know that they really are being looked after, that there are all of these beautiful angels and extraterrestrial races that are here that are really looking out for us behind the veil. They have to let things play out so that we learn and that we can finally get out of duality, ascend, and rejoin universal society. I mean, I want to start going to planets again, don't you?
Yes, me too. And I want a spaceship ride.
Right. But what's the connection between angels and extraterrestrial? Where do they meet?
Well, how they meet is, created beings are angels. They're the angelics. There's different sets of them in the realm. And then, so their consciousness is even on a higher elevation because they are working for the Godhead, right? And they are working for Source. So they are doing that, and they are given sections of the universe to look after and to tend to and to mind, where the ET races are still evolving. And when they might have disputes, even though they're fully conscious, there's still disputes between people within their own race or with another race. These angelics come out, which are a lot too are Melchizedeks, and they come in, and they are the most beautiful intermediaries, because they will always help them solve whatever it is, because it's done with such an energetic voice that they always will find some sort of resolution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just think this is amazing.
Yeah.
I love what you're sharing with us, guys. I think you all ought to take a peek tomorrow at Craig's event, and I'm going to pronounce it one more time: Campobasso.
Ah, you did so
I've
good.
been kind of practicing. Craig Campobasso.
Yes.
Extraterrestrial Species, and his new book, UFO Hotspot. You have a
There
copy
it
of
is.
Oh,
There it is. And Joan, I couldn't figure out how to post where people, if they want to get autographed copy of the books from me, to
we
post
posted
in the chat. Did you post it in the chat?
Yeah, I think it's in the chat. It
I
says
did, but we posted it in the chat where they can get your book.
It is
Oh,
posted.
there we go. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
put it
Oh,
in
there
the
was the
chat too. But thanks so much. I'd like to do more conversations with you as you do more of your studies. And
yes, I would
Great
love
work.
that.
yeah,
I would love that. Thank
Great
you.
work. Thank you
Let me know
so
what you-
much, Craig. Any
let me
more
know what you think
questions?
of my book, Greg, and send me a PDF of UFO hotspots.
I will. I can send you a hard copy if you want.
Well, I'm traveling, so
You are. Okay. All
hotspot.
right. No worries.
But he took it with
We'll get
him.
it to you.
Okay, even though
I
there's a
love that.
50-pound limit, he took your book with him. And when I said we're interviewing you, it was pretty funny here in the house here, the way things work
I
energetically.
That's
Actually,
We are
great.
so appreciating you, Craig. Your work
You
is
guys
amazing.
too.
And guys, I just want you all to know Craig is also is a casting director and teaches acting, because I've been on his email list for the last, I don't know, 7 to 10 years with some of his stuff. So check him out, Campobasso.
Yes. And if people are, you could go to my website, craigcampobasso.com. The next acting class starts in January 15th. And if you want to know more about Valiant Thor, that's strangeratthepentagon.com.
I think I'll be watching that tonight.
Yes.
All right. We thank you very much, Craig.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Thanks
You.
so
All
much.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone tuning in online. We really appreciate it. What a good conversation, Joan.
Oh my God. I heard little gremlins in your computer. But it was a great conversation. I loved knowing about the hot spots. I thought your idea of us filming him and going to a hot spot in Los Angeles would be fantastic.
And live streaming it to our favorite audience members.
And live streaming it would be fantastic. We don't know if it's a remote location or not. But Alan, any last words from you on
well, that we have a lot of events coming up in 2023. We have the Conscious Life Expo coming to the LAX Hilton, February 11th to the 19th. We have Suzanne Ross's Sedona Ascension Retreats.com, March 17th to the 19th in Sedona. What else? Oh, then we have, why don't you tell us?
We have the Ascension Conference, Portal to Ascension. Alan and I are integral co-producers and hosts of the event. We'll both be there, along with a lot of your favorite people, by the way. And
have a big trip coming up in September, a Portal to Ascension in Egypt, which, you know, it's still open, it's still available. We're going to have the website up soon. What was the website page that we're putting up there? Is it Ascension?
Oh gosh, that was Ascension Egypt Retreat.
Yes,
Egypt Ascension Retreat. Okay, guys, we will be posting it and letting you know. If you're interested right now, email me, Joan at Joan of Angels, or Alan if he's your guy, And we'll
Hey,
send you a link to Eventbrite because it's still up. But you know what else, guys? We're going to Glastonbury. So
Oh,
Portal
yeah.
to Ascension also has an event coming up in Glastonbury in August, and also Alan and I are integral parts of that. So plenty
And
of
we
opportunities
have,
to get.
Joan, one more big event at the end of
Oh my
November.
God, how could I have forgotten
This is a big
Sedona?
event, the Crystal Skull Conference, Congress of the major skulls of our time, all gathering in Sedona, November 17th to the 19th.
Right,
So
fulfilling certain.
go to
It's
Portal to
fulfilling a prophecy, right? Bringing all these crystal skulls
Yeah.
together.
But all
is-
these should be listed on the portaltoascension.org website, right? Isn't that where they'll
I'm
all
sure
be
they're
listed?
getting there. I'm sure they will be. And guys, you just reach out to us if you didn't find them. I'll put portaltoascension.org right here. Guys,
Oh.
I do help out as the director of productions there with Neil at Portal to
Joan,
Ascension.
next Friday we have another out of this world interview with this angel guy who
With
you
this
connected.
angel guy. Yes, guys, next week, next Friday, same time, we have an angel channel, and he swears, he promises that every person in his event and even on his show will see angels or feel them in the room. So I think it'll be experiential and exciting. So guys, you can find Alan's channel. What's your YouTube channel? It's called New Realities TV.
New Realities. I'll put that in the chat.
And isn't that a great name, New Realities? Because this is the new reality.
Isn't it? So,
Mhm.
and Joan, what's your YouTube channel for people watching on my channel?
Everything is Joan of Angels, Joan of Angels, Joan of Angels. You can't forget that. I'm the only Joan of Angels right now on the planet. And I'm excited to share that with you. And guys, we're just so grateful for you to be in our lives and to encourage us to keep up our research.
Well, it's happening more and more, and we're connecting the dots, Joan. Great to be out of this world with you. And I'm sure I'll see you really, really soon, like in 2
I like
weeks.
that ending. It's great to be out of this world with Joan and Alan. We send you all love.
World too. In this
And
world.
in this world too with Joan and Alan. So wherever you can find us around the world, make sure you come to our in-person events, our online events, because we just want to be out of this world with you guys and also in this world with you guys.
Yeah.
I never
Thanks.
said that. All right. We'll see you all next time. Love
Thank
from
you.
the Interdimensionals. Ciao.